So, welcome back. On today's episode, I'm absolutely thrilled to have on our next guest. She is an incredible photographer, was actually named one of the top 5 photographers on Backstage magazine. So, if you're in Hollywood, or I assume outside of Hollywood as well, you're definitely going to want to fly in and get some photos with her. She started out as an actor and has had this incredible journey I cannot wait to hear more about and learn some great life lessons from. You can follow her on Instagram at Joanna DeGeneres, and of course, check out our website at www.joannadegeneres.com. So please welcome Joanna DeGeneres.
Hi,
Hi. Of
Samantha.
course. Thank you so much for joining.
Oh, thanks for having me. I've got nothing else to do but talk. So
It is a great time to get to talk with some incredible people right now.
you probably have like an easier time, like, because nobody's doing anything really. So, I mean, I'm lucky I'm back to work, but people are so much freer right now than I think they normally are. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
yeah, I mean silver linings to things for sure. So
Yeah.
I guess I'll just kind of jump right in. I know I saw like you have a BFA in art from Michigan State, and then of course your MFA from the University of Washington, professional actor training program. We did not go there at the same time, so I'm also excited for this like alumni
Oh, good.
connection here. Um, but for your BFA in art, what kind of art did you study?
I was I went there to be a painter and drawer, basically. I was a painter drawer, and the only reason I didn't take a photography class, to be completely honest, is because it was the most expensive class, and you
Um,
had to have the just the solutions and the cameras and the stuff you had to buy for the class. I was like, I can't take this class because I can't afford it. So I never took a photography class as an art major at Michigan State University. But I did tons of theater. I painted, I drew, and I was going to be an art teacher. And then I started that my 5th year, and my stepfather passed away. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I want to be an actor. I
oh
quit.
wow.
I moved to San Francisco. I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to go where there might be more acting work, I guess. And I tried for grad programs and like other ways to sort of sink my teeth into acting, and
Yeah.
ended up ACT for the summer, and did the summer program there with the idea of like, oh, I'll go to ACT for grad school maybe, or I'll stay in San Francisco. And I was there for 2 years, did tons and tons of theater there, didn't take any photos, didn't do any art. And then 1 year in, I was like, well, maybe I'll try for grad school. I applied. I got into a school in England I couldn't afford to go to. It's like, I'll just stay here another year. I applied again, and I got into a couple schools, and I chose the University of Washington. And at that time, I was so poor in San Francisco and so kind of lost. I was doing tons of theater, but I had no money. I was working as a cocktail server at a hotel, in a bar and a lounge in San Francisco. And I just really was looking for somewhere to go to hide, to someone to give me money. Like I could get a loan and I'll go to school, and
Yeah.
yay. And I really wanted to learn more about acting. And I was doing a lot of theater, and I did a show that was really hard, and I really struggled, and I had to come on the beginning of the second act like disheveled and a mess and like crying and sobbing, and I would stare in this mirror for the first act and the intermission of the show and make myself fully into a frothy panic so I could go on stage and
Wow.
start the second act of this play, which was called Bloody Poetry. And I was Harriet, and I was a ghost, and I just had this 2-page massive monologue, and that was it. And I suffered in this play, and I thought, there's got to be a better way to do this than to stare in this mirror and think about everyone in my life destroyed and everything horrible happening, and clawing at myself to do. There has to be another way to successfully do this part. And I think I just didn't have the skills, and I thought grad school is going to give me that. And that's why I went to school, because I was like, I want to know how to play this part without hurting myself. And then I had
Oh,
an experience.
yeah, I love that. And you just let me know of like another goal I didn't even realize that I had for this podcast is
Oh, good.
to do our craft without suffering. Like there are
Yeah.
certain things that are going to be hard about it, obviously, but it's like, let's eliminate the suffering. Let's, you know, let's get more knowledge.
The idea that you can, and I think because I watched your Alexander, I'm such a Kathy Madden
Isn't
fan,
she great? Yeah,
and that's
thanks.
what that's all about. It's like, it's not hurting yourself to accomplish something, to figure out how to do it without suffering, right?
Yes.
And to do it well and to feel good about your performance and all that stuff. So grad school for me, like I remember sitting in a class and just going, I was so happy because I had like this moment of, that's why I came here. Like, oh my God, no one's ever told me that before. Now I know this. And that answered those questions for me. So for me, it was exactly what I, you know, even though I don't act now, I was so glad I got those, you know, I had these questions and I got them answered. And I think that's a great gift, whatever
Yeah.
you.
Do you have anything in particular, like a moment or two where that information, there was a shift where you were able to do something while you were acting with less
Oh,
suffering?
yes. Probably a lot actually, but I did a play there. I did this play and I played what was it called? It was a Václav Havel play we did, and I played this kind of funny. I played a lot. I was always like the secretary, like the kind of a little bit weird, or I was always a waitress or the secretary or the maid or the little quirky like kind of odd character in everything, or the child or the Ophelia or those things. Those are all my classes, Hermia, like that's always what I've done. And I remember doing one show, and this was actually a Kathy thing for me, where it was like, oh, I did this and people were laughing. I got laughs, it was funny. And my evaluation, or somebody came up to me and was like, I love what you're doing. Like, even that walk you're doing is so funny. And I was like, oh, I'm not intending to walk funny.
Yes.
I was like, that's just how I walk. Like, I suddenly had this moment of like, oh, I know I do this weird thing where I sit out of my hips and I have a tendency to not bend like I was walking weird. So I had a moment of just like, oh no, not intentional. So it was a big realization for me that you want everything you do to be that you do it because you want to do it or you're choosing to do it, as opposed to you're doing it and it's not really what you mean, you know. So that was for me. One of my other big grad school moments, I've told this story before to some other people, but I'm a really bad dancer. And I should not say that, and I'll rephrase actually. I'm a bad learner of choreography. I can freely dance and have fun, like, and move. That's not a problem, but I am not a good, I can't learn choreography. I mean, I probably can, but it takes me like 800 times longer than everybody else. And I remember our first, like, they make you do everything in grad school, and we had to dance. And our first, like, what were those days where we had to perform?
Oh,
For
yeah.
those, our first like performance day. Yeah, our first performance day or whatever. And I'm just doing the dance, and I'm like I'm making fun of it as I'm doing it because I'm so bad at it. And I thought, I don't know what I'm doing. So I felt stupid. So I did it. And then the head of faculty, who I don't think was the head when you were there, but he came up to me and he went, so you're not a dancer. And I was like, no. He goes, but you're an actor. I was like, yes. And he went, so you act like you can dance. And I was like, oh, I failed because I didn't do that. Like, he goes, we didn't bring you in here to be a dancer. We didn't bring you here because we think you can go and dance on Broadway or something. We brought you in here to be an actor, so follow through. And it doesn't matter if it's wrong, but you commit to the process and you commit to, and it was a real big like, oh, that was me thinking, you know, where I just, and I think that's in life. Like, if you don't know how to do it, you fake it till you make it a little bit, or, you know, at least put all the effort into making what it is that you're doing seem like you know what you're doing. Like, don't telegraph that you
Right.
think you're bad at stuff.
And thank you for sharing that story, because I think I've always had a little bit of resistance to that idea of fake it till you make it, because I'm like, no, I'm a real person and I'm honest. And then especially as an actor and a comic, people are like, well, are you being dramatic? Are you serious? Like, so having honesty in real life is really important to me as a human, but then on top of it, to kind of go against some of those stereotypes.
Right.
But the way that you just said it, where it's, you are committing to it and you're being intentional. And I love that. I love that. So I think I'm gonna use it that way a bit of, well, sure, maybe I don't feel like super confident going into this situation or that situation, but I want to do it. So I don't have to telegraph my insecurity. I don't have to telegraph I don't know. It's like I'm committing to it at this level.
And if you look like you know what you're doing, like, oh, this is the thing I figured out too since being here, is everyone's doing that same thing. Like, everyone's pretending they know this thing really well that we all are just learning as we go. Like, nobody really knows. I mean, I kind of fake it every day with headshots. I mean, I know how to work my camera, but it's like I'm learning in every moment. And I'm just like, and if something's failing, like the camera's like, why is it's every third photo, my camera's breaking. I just, oh, you know, 1 second, let me just go I grab my backup one. You don't let anyone know that. They don't need to know. It doesn't help their process. It doesn't inform what they're doing. It doesn't enrich them. It worries them. It makes it a bad day. It makes them wonder if you are incompetent. You know what I mean? Like, they don't need, it's none of that needs to happen. Like, they just need to go, oh yeah, okay. And then they see the photos, oh, these are great, I love them, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like, it never mattered. No one needed to know. And I think that a lot of people do that in every job. I mean, producers, they're just putting out fires. They don't know. No one knows how to do their job until they're in the middle of their job.
No one knows how to do their job until they're in the middle of their job. I'm repeating it because it's great.
And there's no way to prepare for that stuff. Like, you can't know, because the thing you love doing the most is gonna blow up and stuff, and you're gonna have to solve problems and figure it out in a new, different way. And if I went back and did bloody poetry again, where I had to scream and cry and blah blah, I probably would still have to do some of that, because I think what I learned about myself as an actress is how for me, it's outside inside. I work outside in as opposed to the other way around. So I take in something and then it bubbles inside of me, as opposed to the other way around. So, you know, it's whatever works for you.
Right. Yeah. Like having that information, whatever works for you, and then doing it in the way that
and
lets
no one
you
can
inhabit it with the greatest ease.
And when you do it better than anyone else, it's like when you're in that movie and it's that thing and you do it and it's amazing. It's not like someone else could have just come along and done that. Like, you figured it out on your terms for you.
Yeah.
And that's made it good. And that's why other people can't do my job. Why other people can't be great actors, because they can't make those shifts and switches. I mean, the thing about hustling too, and like I was thinking about that because you just said something else, but the people I know that do the work and aren't always the best actors, but they work harder. So I think sometimes it's a matter of that too. Like, there's people I know that are the best actors I know. There's a woman I know that's so insanely talented. She'd be like Meryl Streep, but she doesn't really care. She has a kid and she's fine and she does little things and, you know, she's not pushing. And then there's people I know that push and work all the time, and they're a third as talented as she is.
Right.
So it's like, if you can take your talent, work on yourself and do the pushy part, you know, then you can, without annoying people.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. All those different skill sets. Like,
I know, it's really
pushy
hard.
but pleasant. Yeah.
Don't annoy you, but yeah.
Wow. So, okay. So, when you were I guess when you were first starting out, because it sounds like the first thing you really wanted to do was photography, but then it moved into visual art and then into acting and then kind of came back around to photography. Is that fair or?
Well, I mean, I never even picked up a camera or thought about photography because it was all film and it was developing film and it was that stuff. So my mom was painting when I was a kid, and when I was in high school, I was in the theater. I was a theater nerd. I was thespian troupe president and all of that my whole high school. But I was also like in the art room helping the art teacher, and I thought, oh, I want to be her. Like, I'd like to be an art teacher if
Yeah.
I can't be an actor. I was sort of told by my stepfather, and sort of, acting's not a job. Like, you don't get that as a job. It's a thing you do on the side for fun. So you do these other things. You go to college. You do the things that you want to do to get a real job. And then if you want to be an actor, then you do that at night. That's your fun thing on the side. And that was always kind of what I was told in my house. And then that person that told me that all the time died. And I was like, okay, I don't want to be an art teacher.
Oh,
And
wow.
so it's like, and now no one can tell me that I can't try the other thing. So I kind of quit art. I kind of quit that path.
Mm-hmm.
I was almost done. I had graduated and I was doing my student teaching when he died. And I was like, I loved him, and it was hard. It's hard to lose he raised me and he was my stepdad. But I think now, like, if he was still here with me now and I still had the same path and I did this, he would support. I do think he would be like, yeah, you were right. You shouldn't have listened to me. You did what you needed to do. But I turned that and went back to acting. So really I was acting, trying to find another job, things that would be supported by my family, decided to do art education. Because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I could just paint. But painting and drawing is like being an actor. You can't, not a job according to people that don't understand the arts, really. Like, you don't have a job if you're a painter, or you don't have a job if you're an actor, but you really do. But
Yeah.
not with our parents, and not in the 90s. And so when I went to college and did art education, he
Yeah.
passed. And I was like, okay, I don't have to do this. And I left. And I have no regrets of choosing that as a
Right.
path, really. I actually feel like that was the right decision for me, because it just led me in the way that I needed to. And now as a photographer, I've come full circle with dealing with art in a different way, in a
Mm-hmm.
way of just like composition and color and light and energy. And then my acting background, which really helps me with actors and just truth and knowing when someone's being honest and just kind of having fun. And I can work with anybody and I can pull some silly things out of my belt, and it's fun
Yeah.
for me. And then I did like a little casting, and I've been here in LA, so I have like all these other little things that kind of influence it all.
Right.
So that's been my like little path.
Yeah. Do people, I want to ask you a few questions about that, but before I forget, do people travel, I'm sure, like from around everywhere to come get photos from you? Do you ever travel out of LA to take photos of people at certain,
That's so
different
funny. That,
spots?
I mean, a little bit, like there's definitely actors that will come from New York to LA to do headshots, because New York headshots are a fortune. And the good ones anyway, like, are really expensive, and it's a different look. And sometimes they have bi-coastal agents, or they do get submitted for LA stuff, and they really want to have like our look in their headshots.
Yeah.
I just had a girl who drove from Phoenix, Arizona. That was like last week on like Friday or whatever. She drove in. Her appointment was at noon. She had left in the morning, like
Oh,
at, I
wow.
don't know, 4 or 5 a.m., driven in, done headshots with me, and then was driving back. And I was like, why don't you just take them there? I mean, that's the market you're in. And she was like, it doesn't make sense. Like, it's so easy for me to come in, and I liked yours, and I want good ones. And I was like, I get it. Like, and her putting that much effort into doing that will pay off for her.
Yeah.
Like, You know, it's like she can't get great headshots in these, sometimes these smaller markets. You're going to wedding photographers, you're going to
Right.
photographers that make a living doing 30 other things.
Yeah.
They're not just specializing in this. And because I'm in LA and because I'm here, I can really focus on that. And people will ask me to do other things, and I do other things, but other things are not my favorite things. I'd rather just meet different people every day and look at their faces and have a laugh. And dude, that's like my ideal day. Like, I found my perfect job.
That's awesome.
But
Yeah.
yeah, people come in from New York, people come in if they plan it. I mean, now with the pandemic, there's less probably of that. But she got
It's harder.
to me, she was like, I just got here. And I was like, did you just get off an airplane? Because now I'm a little nervous that you just got off an airplane and
Right.
should we have quarantined you? Like, I don't know. And she said,
Right.
no, she drove in with her husband and her mother-in-law or something that she
Oh,
lives with. Like,
that's
okay.
nice. Yeah.
Like, oh, you
And how
put that
nice for her
effort in.
to get a chance to make that effort also for somebody who deeply cares. Like, I don't feel like you would ever, like, even, like I said, you're voted one of the top 5 headshot photographers in LA by Backstage West, which is a huge deal. And you're not.
They don't do those, they don't do that contest anymore. So that was, I think, a few years ago, to be fair. But yes,
But you still made the, you know what I mean? And, but you're obviously seem super humble and like real, and I don't feel like you're taking it for granted, like people's hard-earned money coming to you to like help them get their dream. I went to a photographer once, well, actually I won't say. I did get some great shots from him, but when I got there, he was complaining about his mortgage payment on his like multi-million-dollar house, and he like the first half an hour, and then he was like asking me to wear, like, can you wear this shirt, but it was sheer, and he's like, and nothing underneath, and he was just so unprofessional. And it would just, I mean, I got some great shots, but I mean, how much better would the experience have been if I had gotten to go to somebody who was great, who also like respected me? You know?
No,
Not saying that
totally.
he
I mean,
didn't respect me. He was just like operating on a different
he's a jerk.
everything. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you know, and that's the thing. Like, it's funny because getting a good, like, I get frustrated because actors will post headshots on like all the time on Facebook and stuff, and I'm like, why? Like, why did you want to do this for a living? This is your business, right? If you want to be an actor, then your business is you. You literally have maybe how much control over how it goes for you. It's all in other people's hands.
Mm.
But the things you have control over, there's a few little things. It's like your image, your, skin, how you take care of yourself, your tools that you use for work. And your headshot is the main tool. Like, it's the thing that makes an entrance before you do. Like, people see that first. Whereas for like theater, you kind of walk in with your photo, and then your photo gets flipped over and they write on the back and look at your resume. And then the photos to remember you after you left. Like, oh, we liked her, she blah, blah, blah. Or I put post-its in. But with TV and film and commercials, like, your photos, like, it's that quick slice of telling a story about what you're bringing to the table. And someone goes, yes, that's what in my mind, when I'm picturing this script or this spot or this person, this is what fits in that.
Mm-hmm.
And we do it all the time. Like, people do it, they do it with online dating. Like, they have such high things. Like, people go online dating, they're swiping. Oh, that's a horrible photo of this guy. Well, why wouldn't you, like,
why didn't he pick a different photo?
Acceptable then for your business, this
right.
like weird, this guy without his shirt on, or this girl who looks naked in her picture. And it's like, yeah, you judged that. And guess what? You shouldn't have that for work either, because someone's going to say the same thing. So it's like, these are your tools. You have literally 10 things you can control, but your photo is kind of up there to me with like now it's like what you put on what you put on it on your Instagram and how you present yourself to the world. That stuff's really important too.
Yeah.
The photo of, like, you're saying, this is what I play. This is my range, who I am. how I come across. This is what I'm capable of. This is my intention, my connection with the camera,
Yeah.
all these things in this one picture.
I'm so
And
glad
either,
that you, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up too, because I think back to some of my first headshots, and it makes sense why this happened, because I'm like fresh out of grad school. I thought, well, I can play anything because that's what we were doing. And so my shots, it's not extremely clear always. In like some headshot sessions I had, it's like I'm trying to play everything. And then, after I did a couple different sessions, got a little bit older, more in the business, I'm like, okay, well, I know the energy I give off to people is this. I know these are the roles that I tend to play, and I know that I want to play this. Like, this is the part of me that people don't necessarily meet me for the first time and say like, oh, Samantha, she can do that, but I know I can bring it, and this is the shot that says it.
Right.
And I kind of feel like I'm continually kind of in a process where it's like, I'd love to get them every year, and just I learned this year, let's update it. But how do you work with actors that kind of come in and like you guide them to bringing out whatever that, most sellable essence is, or
Well, I think,
in that?
like, I think it is a process. I mean, there's the process like that you had, and even when you came out here and did your first headshots, it was probably even the casting process was different. So
Yeah.
like when I got here, you printed everything, and the casting process was that they put out a breakdown, and the agents would stuff an envelope with all their actors with the right photo that matched that role that casting had, and then they'd messenger it to, like, that's, it's only not even that long ago. It's 2002. Like, there were messenger services, and actors would hire messenger services because they get the breakdowns themselves, which they shouldn't get, and they would just send messenger their own headshots to casting, like unsolicited themselves, because they knew they were right for that and they didn't have representation on it. And then so it's changed, and then since everything was printed and not online, it was a little further away. There was like things like this in headshots, there was like
Yep.
need and sweetness like this,
Those are my
and
first ones.
yeah, I had it too. Like
Yeah.
Kevin in what's his name? Kevin in Vancouver took my amazing. Love that guy's headshots. He still does amazing headshots. When I left grad school, and then it changed. Like, so then when everything suddenly was cast online, and casting directors are on their little computers looking at boxes and clicking who they want to see, then it all got like tight again, because like I really need to see your face. And then it became like, oh, they have to pop because I'm looking so quickly, right? That I'm looking for and I sort of agree with that. And I when I worked in casting, I found that didn't matter as much, because we knew what we were looking for, and we were looking at every photo. And if somebody looked right, and they were just perfect looking, maybe it wasn't the best photo, but they fit exactly what we thought this was, we'd probably click on their image. Then the mistake they would make is I'd be like, oh, we're looking for like a Johnny Depp, like kind of sexy, dirty looking guy, like that. And so I remember and it was a specific movie. And then you click and you see a guy that looked right. And then you click to look at his other photos. And all of a sudden he's like got a beach ball and he's like so cheesy. And I was like, oh no, that's not the guy. Like, it's that other guy in that photo. And he doesn't look like any of these other photos. Like, now I'm confused, never mind. And so we just, so it's like you can hurt yourself by trying to show,
Oh, wow.
But
Yeah.
if I know what I'm looking for, and it's like, and that's film. I think commercials wouldn't even click. They would just see. They also have they already know everybody. Like, there's all that too. All these casting directors, they pretty much know everyone that books, everyone that comes in. That's why you see the same people on all the commercials. I just saw a commercial for, what was it? I was like, it's like 4 guys, and there was this Pac-Man 80s scratcher tickets. It's brand new things.
Yeah.
I watch commercials all the time because I'm interested in what people are wearing, because I'm putting people in clothes every day that they bring for wardrobe. So I'm like, I want it to make sense. But I was like, oh, it's these same guys. It's these same ones. There's a really funny commercial about becoming your parents, and they're in like have you seen that, where it's like these young people are becoming their parents. And it's Don't Become Your Parents. And this is bad. I don't remember what the
I don't
product is,
remember.
but it's really funny. They're in like a hardware store, and a blue-haired guy walks by, and he's like, "We all see it. We all see it. Don't." It's like they're all becoming old people, but everyone in that spot's just like, those are the people you see in every commercial.
Oh,
And
wow.
because they're funny, they always nail it. That casting director knows that they can plop this guy in. He looks like every man. He's great. He's so funny. He'll just book it, book it, book it, book it. And that's, once you become one of those people, it's hard to get in,
Yeah.
get it.
That makes sense. I'm thinking about what you're saying too of the Johnny Depp guy with his
Oh,
photo that was right on, but then the other photo that was,
yeah. And
that's
then
a,
we're not sure. And then if we have time, we'll maybe see him or we'll dig deeper. But it
right.
depends. It's really perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's a curious thing too, when you're getting, as an actor, getting different advice, like from the one agent that's like, we need to see you doing everything. And then the other, other advice that's like, kind of stay in your money making lane. So,
Yeah. I mean, the way when I'm shooting, I do always think there's nothing wrong with a nice neutral headshot, as long as the actor, if it's just simple, really simple, then the actor has to be a little extra engaged. Like it has to have a little something, a little, has to be a little more interesting to keep my attention. The eyes have to have a little something.
yeah.
And I think that, and so that's when you were saying, how do I work with people and stuff? It's usually that, because I kind of just want their face to do something. It's easier with kids sometimes, but it's a lot of just, oh, hey, that's interesting. What? Wait, no. How dare you? Don't talk to me like that. Who do you
Oh,
think you are? And basically, I just give those lines, and I just want all this, like, and then I'll be like, and like, just to get someone to laugh. It's like, I was like, I don't know how to laugh at my photos, and that's not hard because I'm really dumb and silly, and so it tends to, that's like, I go say, hi, Joanna, and they go, hi, Joanna, and they laugh, and it's okay, we got it, so it's like stupid, or like fake laugh until you real laugh,
yeah.
which is, a thing. And a lot of photographers will do like reconnecting with eyes over and over again, and some people that's okay, and some people it doesn't work for, and some people the little like doesn't work for either, because they get too big, it's too silly, it's like, whoa. So I pull back. I think it just, I kind of go with whatever the person in front of me is, sort of where I feel their energy is and what they're capable of. And then
Yeah.
people have a face that they make when they have their photo taken. Like we all
Right.
have our little
Yeah.
like a open mouth like thing like that. Like I'm guilty of it too. And we all have things we don't like about our faces, or, oh, my one eyebrow's lower, or my this, and I only like this side, and my nose drop, and everyone comes in with all of that baggage and all of those things.
Yeah.
So you're in the same boat as everybody. Like no one's ever, there's probably, God, 10% of people are like, I love this. I get my photos every day. I love having pictures taken. Like, I hate it. I'm this girl when the camera comes out, because I don't like it either. Like I can't look at myself in this thing, so I understand. So I think too, because I have that perspective of like, I get it. Like I see what you don't like, and I
Yeah.
see what I like.
Right. Oh man, I want to come and get photos with you. I'm adding it to my list of things that I want to do, and that'll be great to do when things open back up again, for sure.
Well,
It'll
we're
be
open.
like so much
We're
fun.
open. We're
Oh,
open
sorry.
during.
I just mean like, cause I'm in
Oh,
the Seattle area right now. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
you are? Oh,
Yeah. You know, truncated version listeners, you may have already heard this before, but because I was in LA for about 6 years, and then I just had this sort of shift where I needed to shift things up a little bit differently, came back here, and I don't know how long, we'll be up here, but it's just been a nice change. And it's also allowed me to recenter and refocus. And also is another reason, because I was dreaming about this when I was in LA, but I was just so busy, like dreaming about getting the coaching and the other stuff going more. And then with quarantine, I was like, time to do that podcast. So, and it's always, I love hearing people's stories and hearing about just remembering to have faith in the process, because at certain times we take those breaks, like we need to take them for our well-being and our overall journey. But it can feel like, oh boy, am I going to get to where I said I was going to go? But you just need to take those steps, and you know what I mean?
I think too, I think we're really hard on ourselves with, like, especially creative people, where it's like, if it's not a super successful thing, then all of a sudden it's like we're beating ourselves up, and that just makes less successful, I think, because it's even harder. So I think it's okay to to focus on other things. Like, it's great to go, you know what, I'm gonna put my energy into this other thing. And as soon as you do that, like, you stop, this is a Kathy Madden thing too, actually. And a big thing that I learned was, I learned this in school, because I would focus, like, when I wasn't getting something right, and I wanted to understand, I would like tighten up, almost like my eyes, like I was trying to see through this little thing. And as soon as I like expanded that and opened and I do it, it's a lesson I'm still working on in my photography, because I'm looking through this every day. I'm looking through a little tiny hole in my camera to see what I'm seeing. And sometimes I'll put that camera down and I'll walk around and I'll bump into something. And it's like, I'm still here. And I think in school sometimes I would tighten. So there was no room for me to expand and learn anything and do anything right. And so I have it's okay. Like, just breathe. Like, no, nothing's good all the time, and everything is changing. And if you're kind of like that fish that's like gets pushed and you're willing to go that direction for a while, I think that's okay. Like, I think we're too hard on ourselves. I think we measure success the wrong way and with the wrong value. And I think, like, I feel very successful now when I turn on my TV and I see people that I worked with on a headshot. All I did was take their photo. But when they came to see me, they were still figuring this out. And now he's on Grey's Anatomy and a series regular. And I'm like, I knew that guy had something. And I really felt it when he was in there. And I was like, it just whatever that word
Reaffirms?
is. It just confirmed, it's reaffirmed that I do know things, that I do have, so that I am smart, that I can figure this out, that I can be helpful, that I'm being creative in other ways, that it's okay. Like, my expansion is, I'm not an actor anymore, but I am every day. And I'm still doing things that fulfill that part of me, that are creative. The artist part of me is very filled up. The part of taking photos that is challenging and hard to me is just the technical stuff that I'm always learning. Those are just things that anyone can do. Anyone can learn to do what I do, but they're not me doing it. And so as long as I remember, like, I bring me through everything, and I fail, like, there's people that come into my studio and I'm like, I glaze over because I don't know, I can't be everyone's best friend. Like, they kind of fluster me a little. Like, I don't know what to do with this person. There's so many things in front of them that they're putting in front of me and them that I can't even get them to stop going. I'm having them talk to me, and they're actually talking to me during the session, holding a smile like this for their photos. Right. I'm like, no, the reason I'm having you talk to me is to stop, like, and it's like, I can do everything. Like, stop holding that smile. Okay. Right. It's like, it's not everyone can just breathe and do it. And I can try every trick in the book, but I can't always, it isn't always perfect. It isn't, we don't always get there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you can't, if you're trying to like get to that essence and like truth part and the thought and the eyes and all of that, like you can't like rip somebody's facade off and be like, they have to be willing to and able where they currently are to get to that spot.
Yeah, and I just connect your thought, like your face is stuck in a smile, and you're talking to me, but you have no awareness of what but the camera's just seeing this part, you
Right.
know. So it's hard, it's easy, it's everything. And I think because for me, my job is so different every day, even though I'm doing the exact same thing every day, that's what keeps it fresh and what
Yeah.
I enjoy and what I'm like, I like it. Like some days I'm like, and some days I have a funnest day, and you know, just like every job.
Right. Yeah. Just like every job.
But if you're in Seattle, that guy, I'm going to plug him. I'm going to make sure I get him right. He's a Vancouver photographer. I think it's Kevin Clark. Let me see.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Kevin Clark Studios.
Kevin Parks?
Clark, Clark. His headshots, he took my headshots in 2002, and he still does actors, and you just go up to Vancouver, Canada.
Oh, well,
And
that's pretty cool.
he's amazing. I love his work. Like I would love to watch him work. I think his food, that he takes photos of food that I think is insane. And he's just good at everything. He's like, take a photo of everything. And I remember getting my photos from him and loving them. And I was an insecure graduating, you know, terrified. And he did a great job. So
That's
now that I
awesome.
know how hard it is, I like him even better.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. That makes it very cool. Let me see. Okay. So I know we're kind of reaching that time, and I have a few questions I wanted to make sure to ask you. Okay. So did you have a favorite person to shoot right now, or a favorite shoot, something that made it great? And
Oh,
also, I think we heard one that was really hard with the person who just kind of wouldn't,
yeah, can't
or
smile. Yeah.
couldn't like, yeah.
I mean, so, look, I get lucky. Like I get fun, like people that work all the time, or people that are, you know, people that I admire that will come in, and I'm like, I'm a fan of this person's work, and they come in, and I just photographed Tyler Henry, who's a psychic medium.
Ooh.
He's like a kid. He's like 26, and he's a psychic medium, and I was kind of like, all prepared for like my stepfather to show up behind me or something, you know what I mean? And to go through all that. But of course, he wasn't there to do his job. He was there for me to do my job and get photos. So it wasn't the same, you know, it had to be
Right.
not going to give you a reading. It's his shoot.
Yeah.
He needs to, you know, but I asked him like really fun questions. We had such a nice time. He's so lovely. And I don't believe in that stuff at all, really. But, you know, there's that part of you that like, I really want it to be true. And I want to believe in it, but I need proof. I'm like one of those people, you have to show me this. And I haven't seen it for myself really. So
Yeah.
I can't quite, you know, but that was really fun for me, just because he's not an actor. But he's playful and he's fun and he's adorable, and we had a fun time. And sometimes the most fun I have is with people that having their photo taken is not their number one, you know, they're not actors.
Yeah. What is it about that? Is it just they feel like less pressure, so they're more present, or just like the variety of it?
I think it's exactly that. I think that there's just a more openness, a more trusting. Maybe they haven't done this 1,000 times where they've had a bad experience before. Like I don't have to win. It's like,
yeah.
It's like, every time, and no one's ever able to blah. And I always hate my headshots and and that this is the problem. So rather than them telling me a problem, it's like this is what I want to accomplish, which I think is always the better way to approach it anyway.
That's a great point. Yeah, because you don't want to feel like, well, I mean, for actors too, coming into the headshot session, it would be good for their mind frame too, of like, don't start off under a rock, like that you have to push up. Start off with your intention and move forward that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, somebody's
Oh,
leaving.
no, it's all good.
Um,
Cool. And then, so if any person in the world who that like called you up and said, hey, I want to come get shots, or you walk in and you're surprised by somebody, you know, who's there in the studio, who would
okay.
it be for you and why?
So I am a musical theater lover. So for me, people that are in musicals that I love are better than movie stars. Like I've met some movie stars and they're great and everything was great, but I think, well, they got lucky and timing more than anything else. Whereas when I meet it's like meeting a true athlete when you meet a musical theater person. Like those kind of skills of being able to sing 8 times a week and bring it that much and have the passion and desire to actually do that and not be really paid as well as at other performing things. So for me, my stars are always those people. And there's definitely some that I would probably lose my mind. Like if it was like, I'm trying to think of somebody. I mean,
You should let them know because they're definitely listening to this, right?
I love like who wouldn't want to spend an hour with Lin-Manuel Miranda?
That's what I was
Taking
thinking. I was like, it'd be amazing. Yeah.
And he's done something else. Like he's taken a genre, he's turned it on its head, and he's expanded it to like people. Like I used to tell people I love musicals, and they go, I don't. Like some people didn't like them. They didn't understand what they were. They'd be like, oh, is that when people sing about like that they lost their hat? Like it starts talking and they burst into song, and I'm like, no, it's not. And then they'd say they don't like them, and I'd be like, but you like music. And then I'd name like 5 songs. Oh, I like those songs. And then they go, well, I did see this one show, I really like that. And I was like, but that's a musical. Like it's every genre, it's everything. And I think what he's done has expanded it now, so where it's not so nerdy. Like it's cooler now. Like, and good for him for making it more cool.
Yeah, I read something that because Hamilton was amazing, and then In the Heights, which I didn't realize, because when I saw that one on Broadway, and back then I didn't really, he wasn't really on my radar, and I didn't know, but I just love that musical so much.
This is how much of a fan I am of that stuff. So when they came into town, these touring shows come into town, I hound them. I hound people to come and they all need new photos. They're horrible. Programs are horrible. And I'll usually find, so when Hamilton was here, I found an actor that I was like, come and shoot with me. And he was playing Hercules Mulligan and Thomas Jefferson.
Oh.
And his name's Matheny Traco. And I said, come and shoot with me. You're amazing. And I think he just wrote, it was like the intermission of the show. And I think I wrote it on Instagram message or something. And he went, okay. And I was like, great. So I set it up. He came and shot. And I was like, I want to shoot your whole cast. And he went, who do you want? I'll tell them to come. He was so excited. He loved his photos so much. He's like, who do you want? I was like, I want everybody. And so I ended up I was like working, I was squeezing them in. I mean, I'm really booked up, so it was actually really hard, but I don't care. These are the people that these are my heroes. Like these are the people that I admire, that I love, that they do something I could never do. I couldn't work enough hours I couldn't train enough hours in a day to do what they do. Like it just wouldn't come out of my body. Like my voice would never sound like that. But so my number one person would be Cynthia Erivo, because I'm just like a massive fan, and I've met her once and I just went, I love her. I mean, I don't know. I just love people that can just sing like they just sing and it's like, who sounds like that? Like, it just comes out of your body sounding like that. I'm so jealous and I love it so much. So I'll cry. Like I can see the cheesiest, stupidest musical and I'm like sobbing at the end.
Oh.
So that's my kind of happy place. And that's probably those are the people that I get most excited about.
That's awesome. So I hope you're listening, because clearly you are. And go on down and get your photo. That'd be so cool. I mean, it'd be awesome if they were listening too, but yeah, awesome. Okay, so what is, let's see. Ooh, what is your favorite part? Yes, I'm going to go back and ask like your favorite part of each one of these kind of creative artistic things you've done.
Oh,
The favorite and least favorite, or something that was easy or hard about, I guess, art, um, and acting and photography.
it was funny because the first thing I thought was casting, because I realized that that wasn't for me. I did it for 2 years as an assistant. And I think for me, the best part of that was just giving people jobs. Like, I got so happy when we got to say that we got this girl this part, you know, and now she's in a movie. Like, she'd never done anything. She was playing her instruments on Santa Monica pier or
Oh,
whatever. Like,
wow.
she was, and she's Pocahontas in the New World. And it was because of this little photo on her thing that I was like, she looks like Pocahontas to me. And I kind of
Wow.
championed her. And that was the best part. But the part I hate is we need a list of 50 of the top actors right now, up and coming, 20 to 30 that are blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't have a good memory, really. So anything that requires like me trying to remember stuff like that, I'm like, I just completely shut down. And anything that takes a lot of organization or like it has like a lot of paperwork involved, is like I shut down. So I always have to have what I realized for me is that the best use of my time is paying someone else to do that stuff, because I have an assistant because I'm useless. Like, I can't do it by myself. Like, I need her to organize and remind me 8 times that I have this today, you know,
Yeah.
because it's like I need someone like, and that's what I've learned. Like, and that's how I can be successful, because otherwise I'll just won't show up for things. And it's not because I'm not don't want to or don't care. It's that I forget, or my organization is so terrible. So
Yeah. No, it's awesome. Like to that, and those are the questions I'm asking myself too, you know, like what is it that works best for me, with how I am? What are those things that I can improve? And what are those things that just really aren't my personality and I don't have to force it and I can like go an alternate route and just make it easier? Like,
well, it's funny because that's what I think about headshots a little bit. Like, I think of actors that kind of try to circumvent, and they have their friends shoot them and they do their own hair and makeup. And it's like, you're not good at all that stuff. Like, hire people. Like, this is the stuff you spend money on. Like, you hire someone so that you can fully focus and do your job better. Like, if you get someone else to do that for you, you just prepare with wardrobe, and then you come in and you have somebody taking care of every other aspect of the day, then you can focus on your job for the day. But if you have to do
yeah.
all the other things, then it's harder. And it's like, and maybe you save money, but you kind of waste money because you aren't fully able to do your thing that you're great at.
Yeah.
So actors are pound, what is it? Pound foolish, penny wise, pound foolish, that kind of thing. Or,
Ooh.
you know, where it's like you spend money on like the wrong things. It's like, why are you trying to save money here? Like, save it here. Like, you know, it's like, it's that for me. It's like,
Yeah, that's such a good point because, and I, you know, I definitely feel like that because as an actor, I felt, especially in LA, there's so many things as an actor that they say you need to spend your money on. Like
mm-mm.
there's constantly spend your money on this, spend it on this is the thing you need. Da, da, da. And it takes time to realize, wait, what are those things are true for me?
Right.
Like with what I've already got going on and yeah, where do I spend that money?
It used to be like you had to have your own website. I think that's kind of garbage now. I don't know if I've never looked up an actor's website. Like, I think any actor with a website should look and see how many actual people come and look at it all the time and see if it's really worth that, whatever they spend monthly or, you know, on that. But maybe it's your Instagram, like the whole feel of it. Maybe it's just culling it so that it really has it really is on brand, like that stuff. And if you're not good at that, but you're good at other things to focus, like take the thing that you're great at and is easy for you and let other people do those other things, like where it has a theme and it looks thought out and thoughtful and
Yeah.
We're lazy. We're all lazy. I'm lazy too. I mean, we shortcut and we're lazy. And actors can be really lazy. They just want to get the job. And then they go to set and they don't even know their lines. It's like, you got this great job and you didn't even learn your lines for it. And this is what you say you want to do. Like, you don't really want to do this. You just want to be famous. Like, what part of this do you really want to do? So.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess like for me, the actors that I've seen, I haven't really met. I don't really know as many lazy actors as I know exhausted actors.
Yeah.
And that I feel like that's where I guess I just knew like a good bunch of actors, but
For
we're like
sure.
constantly
Yeah.
hustling and just like so exhausted. But yeah, there's a bunch of people that are lazy and aren't, they're just
Yeah.
wanting the results without the work.
Yeah. I mean, we all kind of, everyone wants to just be successful at something, like do it, and if you really do have to put in, it's hard work. Everything is hard work. Nobody got anywhere. There's a few people I know that just coasted and got, like, they just made it and they're, amazing and they didn't have to work very hard. But I mean, or at least that's the way it looks, or that's what they kind of say. But if that's really true,
That's a good point. Yeah. Like you don't know it's like really, really true.
Right.
Okay. So, can you let us know that for, thank you for the casting, but also for, art and acting and photography of like, um, favorite part, least favorite part, and or advice, best advice, worst advice.
For the art, for me, it's this, and probably for everything that I do that's creative, where it has to come from me. It's the first brush stroke. That's the hardest part. Like, if someone hands you something and it's partially started, I feel like that's easier for me. But the first thing is hard. Like, how to start sometimes, I think. So sometimes I get someone in the studio, it's like they want to do something very different. And it's like, I fuss and fuss and fuss and fuss and fuss, because sometimes it's like, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
And then I realize, just take a picture. Like, just take a picture first. Like, do the thing you know how to do first. And then, like, hopefully the rest will come into perspective a little bit. But I think it's just that starting. It's like, and sometimes just like it feels tedious, or the thing feels like it's hard, or there's just a fear of like success, a lot of like, well, if this really goes well, that feels overwhelming or a little scary to me, So I think sometimes it's hard to do that, like know how to begin something, especially something new. Like, you probably you're starting this, and it's like, yeah, you put it on paper and it's like, what am I doing? What am I talking about? Well, who am I talking? And then with anything, it seems simple in the beginning. It's just like when you get this is what I always found about acting. You read the scene. Oh, this is so easy for me. I can do it. I can nail it. And then you start working on it, and all of a sudden it's so hard and you feel lost. And that's why I always loved a rehearsal process, which you don't get with film and television. You don't do any of that. You have to go in and just do the final thing. But the rehearsal process, where you get lost, it's bad, you lose it, and then something clicks and connects, and then there's like, oh, and then the next part is so much fun, because then you can throw all that away. But I think just starting, and then just like the middle part where it's really muddy and feels overwhelming. Those are probably.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I know for the first episode, I was just I'd been thinking about it for a few weeks, and let's get the setup and this, and I want it to be perfect. I want to be off to this. And finally it's like, you know what, just get it started. And then you can keep on tweaking and allow yourself to go through that process, which like, I don't really want to do publicly, but it is necessary. And when I look at other people that I admire, I'm like, yeah, their first episode, or their first of anything, like even the pilot episode of The Office, which I loved The Office, but it's like, it sure looked different. Like, you could see the growth and the changes, even though it was great when it started.
Yeah, as the characters kind of figured out totally.
And when their budget expanded for like their recording equipment and stuff like that too.
People that like worked in the office for the pilot, like, weren't there again. Like, there was characters that were in the pilot that aren't even in the, can you imagine you book that pilot and then that's it. Like
Oh
it became
man.
this.
Wow. That
Sucks.
would, yeah. I hadn't thought about that. I'm going to have to, next time I rewatch it, I'm going to have to look for that. But
Yeah.
yeah. So we're almost, I think, at the hour. And as always, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I would love to ask you one life lesson, or if you have more, that's cool, but something that your craft has taught you about life, and
Hmm.
potentially one way you'd love it to help improve the world.
Hmm. Well, I wouldn't be so arrogant to think that anything I'm doing is really helping the world.
Well, so maybe like one piece of advice for people.
Yeah.
And it is helping the world. I'm like a strong believer in the ripple effect. Like you throw that
yeah,
pebble into the pond and, you helped somebody get on Grey's Anatomy. And
that's true.
who knows who's watching that and like having a better life and how that's going to impact them
Oh
and their
yeah,
life choices.
that's true. Um, to be selfish about it, it's probably helped me grow more than the opposite around. Like I've probably uh I would say what I've learned. God, it's so hard because I think what I've learned is that I'm very much at the beginning of my knowledge about what I do. So I think what I learned is that I don't really I I've only touched the surface, and
Mm.
I don't have, like, I'm not a, you know, in that specific with photography, like I have to think, like the aperture, ISO, shutter speed thing is something it's a pyramid thing, and it's math, and it's really hard for me. Okay, that's my dog. And that for me is I'm learning, like the technical stuff of the camera is the stuff that I feel, if someone wants to have a really technical question, sort of, uh, and they're a big camera like expert, I am like, oh, I don't know. Like I can flush through some of it, but I'm not a fully, like, I can't tell you, if you opened my camera up, I couldn't tell you all the parts of it and what the insides are like. I only know how to make it work in my hands to do what I want it to do. And sometimes I'm flummoxed, like something's weird in this setting or whatever. I am traveling to Arizona next weekend. I shoot the actors that are graduating from that program every year.
Cool.
And I'm in Arizona, like I'm not in my studio, and I have to figure out quickly how to make them look as good as they do with what I can do easily in my studio every day. So that challenges me, but I kind of get excited about, like, let me prove that I can do this. Like
Yeah.
it helps me, like it reminds me that I am capable of it and I can figure it out. And I'm not, and I know more than I think I know.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And I feel like when I was starting out at acting, I had a moment of like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I need to learn. And then I think I got a little bit arrogant about it. Like, I know everything. I'm so great. And then as my knowledge increased, it's just like, I'll never know everything. I think there's a sort of like wisdom of getting to a point of mastery where when you have that mastery level, you realize how much you still need to learn. And I don't
But
think you'll ever get fully arrogant.
you know what? Like when I moved to San Francisco, I was like, I can do anything. Like I is so arrogant about being an actor, and I would open the Backstage West and I would circle 4 things to go audition for, plays, whatever. And I'd be, I'm gonna do these monologues today. And I would just go da 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 da. And I had no fear because I didn't know better. Like
Right.
my ignorance was bliss.
Yes.
So I was so, like, I so thought I was the bee's knees, and I could walk away, like, and move on and forget I even auditioned. Like, I would give anything for a little bit of that now, where now it's like, if somebody emails me like, oh, someone didn't love this look or something, I'm like, oh my God, they didn't love it. Like, what? Like, I didn't care. Like, I cared to almost, I would give anything for the little bit of arrogance back that I had when I knew less. Like a little bit of that, maybe.
Yes.
I could not,
Yeah.
yeah. Like if you were like, here's 4 auditions, you do these old monologues that you probably still know, go and walk in and do it. And I'd be like, I don't know. Like, how do I, because I'm older now. And now I have fears and things that I did not have because I didn't know any better. And there was something really great about that time in your life and that part of a process where you're like, I'm great. Like I can do this. I'm
Yeah.
amazing.
Right.
And then somebody steals your confidence, which actually happened to me here when I moved here. I just thought I was like, I graduated from my MFA at the University of Washington. I knew I felt like I could take on the world. I could tackle everything. I felt really good about myself as an actor. I was like, I'm just great. I'm ready to work. Like, let's audition, get me an agent. I'm ready to go. And my boyfriend at the time's neighbor was a working actor to me. Really, he just was like, he played like doctors in sitcoms. He'd be like, excuse me, right over here, ma'am, or
Uh-huh.
he had one line in like every sitcom and TV show, and he was always like an accountant or a doctor or a lawyer because he was like this bald, curly hair. He's dead now, so I can say, and little glasses. And he was like, he was my boyfriend's neighbor, and I was talking to him, and I was like, yeah, I'm working. I'd love to show you my monologues and do that stuff for you, just so you can know me better and blah blah. Because I just got here, and I was so full of myself. And he saw that and was like, thought he was the shit. And then I did my monologues for him, and he was like, and I knew, and they were probably good. They probably weren't amazing, but they were good. And he could have guided me a little bit and helped me, but instead he said some things to me that were really harmful and mean, and made me like kind of knocked me off of my game a little bit. And I held on to that. And then I thought, oh, here was me thinking I could come to LA and do this. And here's this real working actor telling me that I'm terrible. And that's all I heard. Like,
Oh,
who do you think
wow.
you are? Just because you got your MFA, like you're great. Like this is LA. You're going to get eaten alive. This isn't acting. You need to do this and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, then maybe I need to find something else to do because maybe I'm not capable of this. And like that guy, like one person who had his own agenda and really was not a success. You know, he really took that away from me, and he didn't have the right to do that. And I held that for a long time. And I think that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah. That is mean for somebody to try to tear down another person's dreams. Like there's
Yeah.
always a way to help people and be constructive with what you have to say,
He, in his mind, was probably like, oh, I'll just knock her off her peg a little. She thinks she's great, and here she is in LA. She has no idea it's so much harder. And so he decided just to do like a little swipe at me. And instead of me going, oh, whatever, shut up, like you're one guy, like who cares? I took it all in and churned it around for years, where I had to be like, oh, and doubted myself. And it probably stopped me from really being an actor, actually. But
Wow. Well, I feel like there's a lot in that story because, I mean, as you're saying it, I almost feel like part of that somehow triggered something, not to use the word trigger, but for lack of a better one, just, being told that it wasn't a real job a lot while you were growing up.
yeah,
It
maybe
could
so.
have, but then also on top of it too, like you did find it sounds like this is your real calling too. So you got led to where it is that you're meant to be.
And I don't think I had the skills to take proper to distinguish between like real feedback and just somebody being mean, or like I didn't really know how to split those. I really cared about this person's what they thought of me, which was on me, like that I made their opinion of me was so valuable to me. It's like it's like it's one person, and I mean, we've all had auditions where you just blew it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just was terrible. And now all I think about and care about is this, I'm going to get back in there so they can see me do a good audition or whatever. So, so I mean, it's just normal, but for some reason, this one incident was like,
Well, and like
I
you said,
think,
it's somebody that oh, go ahead.
yeah, because I think for me, he was a working actor. He was doing what I thought I was going to be doing.
Yeah.
And he really wasn't. Like, he was, a,
Which
an
is
under.
probably why he was also felt that need to knock you down, because I think people who are really comfortable with where they are don't have that need to, like,
It was really it was his issue,
yeah.
not mine. But I didn't have a way to, I wasn't equipped at that time emotionally to be able to realize that, or, do that. So.
And and also the other thing, when you were saying the difference between if you went to an audition and got feedback that you would just like bounce back from and like, well, I'm going to go back and I'm going to show them again, versus this is somebody that you knew. And it sounds like you were open-hearted to and vulnerable to. And there's a
Yes.
different way that people can injure us when we're being totally open-hearted. And for actors, it's like we're constantly having that game of, or not game, but that practice of like, we have to be vulnerable and open and be like, this is me, these are my feelings, and I'm vulnerable so you can connect. And then we got to kind of guard it back up so that we don't get torn down constantly. And just this of like,
yeah, you're right.
yeah,
It goes right back to our beginning thing, which is like, how do we do what we love without hurting ourselves?
Yeah. And there's all of these other ways when you get out of school, and what you're saying, there's certain things you can't know how to do, and you don't learn how to do until you're in the midst of it. Right. And that other skill set of like, not just your work, not just the craft, not just the job, not just this, but then also like dealing with yourself or handling those hard emotions of, well, when am I vulnerable? When am I not? When am I this? When am I that? And just getting, yeah. Wow. Thanks for sharing that. I'm sorry that you had to go through it.
No, I mean, I think it shaped me. So it is what it is. I mean, I changed from that experience in a strange, there was other things in that time in my life, but I don't regretted it now, because I realized you can't, like, what good does that do,
right.
to anybody?
I know when I said that, I'm like, I'm sorry you had to go through it, but then I'm also realizing, well, you're where you are now, which seems like a great place. And part of that, of course, was informed from that moment.
Yeah. And I also learned, like, I would never do that to another artist.
Yeah.
I don't have, just because I do what I do, it doesn't mean that I have the right to tell someone else, to tear someone else down in that way, or to feel like it's my right. I think he felt like it was his like pleasure to knock me down a peg. Like, I would never take pleasure out of, even to someone that's like, I'm just going to be famous, blah, 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 I'm amazing. I'm like, I mean, hold on to that, because
right. Yeah.
That was probably me. And he was like, no, this is harder, and that wasn't that good. And I was like, oh, now I don't know what to do with myself. So I probably also knew that at the time, like, he must have opened some truth for me. I probably realized that too. And it was like, when somebody calls you out on something that you're not recognizing, and that's more hurtful, because you're the only one that sees your pain, and they saw it too, and so
that's a really good point. If there are things that people say to us that are hard to brush off, that really impacts us, and just having that time to question it, like, why did it? And
there was that hit at some nerve of truth that you carry about yourself as well, and you think that people don't probably see that about you, and then when somebody just pokes it, like, right in that spot.
Wow. And I'm getting to full circle it, but in a good way, that you as a photographer, it sounds like, you have a gift of seeing that little thing in somebody, beautiful thing, and you shoot it. And you like lift them up instead of that guy tearing people down.
This is what I'd say about me with that, which I have said before too, which is I actually find everyone I shoot really attractive. Like, I
Oh.
never look at someone and I'm like, oh, how am I going to make this good looking? I always can find something about like their face or something that is appealing to me, and that's what I see when I shoot. So I feel like that definitely, I don't know why that is or what it is, but I always hold on to that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like that, it's just like, oh my gosh, that little cheekbone of that person, or that looks so cool, that little dimple or that thing, or the way that, and there's like a crookedness, but it's pretty and interesting and cool and blah, blah, blah. And I'll think about that stuff when I'm shooting. I never think about like how to make something or I'm not shooting something I don't like, or I don't. Does that make sense?
It does. And I'm thinking about how you had a lot of experience as an artist too. And I feel like that's another gift of a visual artist. Not saying every artist is the same, but like I've seen pictures of garbage and I've seen it photographed in a way that I'm like, that's fascinating and I should be looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that people come in are garbage, but people are far more attractive than garbage, and just having that mentality of this is somebody who's worth looking at and you find what's beautiful about them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are people that like, it's like they just need, like, they're making weird choices, like hair choices or wardrobe choices or makeup choices.
Yeah.
And I can gently like guide, like help that stuff as much as I can without being mean, or, without it, and it's very tricky because it's somebody's person. Like, it's their face, it's what they look like, it's what they're choosing,
Yeah.
So I do everything I can to sort of set them up for a successful shoot. And that's sort of part of that, I guess.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you again so much for your time. It's just been,
Samantha.
it's been such a gift getting to talk to you and share you with the listeners. And again, be sure to check out Instagram at Joanna DeGeneres and her website as well. But of course, Instagram is going to be more up to date as we tend to go on there a bit more. And website www.joannadegeneres.com. And as always, if you're looking for a coach to help you use performance skills to improve your life with voice, body, and mind, your life and work, you can always reach me at beyondtechniquecoaching@gmail.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. Leaving a review, 5-star review, and comments on Apple Podcasts is a huge help to get the scene in front of more people. And then, of course, if you're so inclined, you can also go over to Patreon and throw us some dollars at Beyond Technique with Samantha Rund. That also helps the podcast. So thank you so much. Stay safe and stay healthy.